Very good evening and welcome to Newswatch. It is the 27th day of September 2022. Thank you for joining us on this live broadcast on Hope TV. I'm Tony Omondi and our sign language interpreter is Elizabeth Wanjiru. Let's begin. Now, President William Ruto has finally announced his cabinet 2 weeks into the office as President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces. Ruto unveiled the 22-member list that analysts say is a heavy political cabinet. Ruto made the announcement at State House in Nairobi, where he also rewarded his political allies that lost in the 2022 general election and others that are serving as legislators in Parliament. Some of the biggest beneficiaries include Garissa Town MP Aden Duale, who has been nominated as Defense Cabinet Secretary, Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, who has been given the Transport Ministry, and Professor Kithure Kindiki, who has been named for Interior Ministry. At the same time, President Ruto nominated NC leader Musalia Mudavadi as Prime Cabinet Secretary with a powerful role in Ruto's government. Grace Wangoi begins with this report.
This exercise is important because although we have a cabinet, which I met with my good deputy this morning, it is also important that we set up the new cabinet early.
After weeks of waiting, Kenyans now have a clear structure of the 21 ministries and the new cabinet secretaries appointed to head the various dockets. President William Ruto convened his inaugural cabinet meeting Tuesday, attended by all cabinet secretaries from his predecessor's regime, some of whom strongly opposed his presidency. Following the meeting, Ruto proceeded to name the men and women who will be the pillar of the Kenya Kwanza regime. The only survivors of the former President Uhuru Kenyatta's regime are Simon Chelugui, who served as a Labour and Social Protection CS, and Monica Juma, who served in the Energy docket. Chelugui has been reassigned to the Cooperatives and MSMEs Development docket, while Monica Juma has been retained as an advisor on national security.
Appointments of ministers.
It doesn't go unnoticed that close allies and supporters to President Ruto have been awarded ministries, the biggest beneficiary being Musalia Mudavadi, who has been appointed the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Others are Professor Kithure Kindiki, who has been appointed as CS in the Interior Ministry, Aisha Jumwa as Public Service Gender and Affirmative Action CS, Aden Duale as Defense CS. Water and sanitation will be handled by Alice Wahome. Former Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua will serve as the Foreign and Diaspora Affairs CS. Trade, Investment and Industry Ministry has been handed to former Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria, with Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen appointed as Roads, Transport and Public Works Cabinet Secretary. Former Senator Mithika Linturi has not been left behind, as he has been named Agriculture and Livestock Development CS, with former National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi appointed as Attorney General. Key dockets like health have been given to Susan Akumicha Wafula, National Treasury to Professor Njuguna Ndongo, education to Ezekiel Machoga, and energy and petroleum to Davis Chirchir. Other appointments of cabinet secretaries include Kengen Managing Director Rebecca Miano as the CS for East Africa Community, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development, Seipan Tuya as the Environment and Forestry CS, Zakaria Mwangi Njeru as the Lands, Housing and Urban Development CS, Penina Malonza as the Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage CS. The Information, Communication and Digital Economy will be handled by Eliud Owalo, Youth Affairs, Sports and Arts with Ababu Namwamba, Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs by Salim Vuria, and Labour and Social Protection by Florence Bore. If approved by Parliament, the Secretary to the Cabinet will be Mercy Wanjau, and the Women Rights Agency Advisor will be Harriet Chigai.
And walked this journey.
Grace Wangoi for Hope TV Newswatch.
President William Ruto has outlined the functions that his deputy Rigathi Gachagua will undertake as the two embark on implementing the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. Speaking when he unveiled his cabinet at State House Nairobi, President Ruto said his deputy will have clear roles. This will avoid a repeat of the tussles that Ruto faced with former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Gachagua will, among other functions, deputize the president in the execution of all presidential functions that are allowed by the constitution and law. He will also chair cabinet committees and oversee the implementation of cabinet decisions across all ministries and departments.
As I promised my deputy is going to be a very busy person. And I am sending an executive order for print to assign my deputy very clear responsibilities that will assist me be able to discharge the responsibility, the heavy responsibility put on my shoulders by the people of Kenya, as is in accordance with the Constitution of Kenya. The Deputy President will deputize the President in the execution of all President's functions that are allowed by the Constitution and law. He will chair cabinet committees. He will oversee the implementation of cabinet decisions across all ministries and departments. Number 4, he'll coordinate intergovernmental relations between the national government and the county government, including chairing the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, commonly known as IBEC. He will be the liaison between the constitutional commissions and independent offices in matters that require intervention by the national government, including budgets, policy formulation, and implementation of their recommendations.
Meanwhile, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI boss George Kinoti, has resigned from his position. This was announced by President William Ruto while unveiling his cabinet at State House. Kinoti formally resigned, having served as the country's top detective under former President Uhuru Kenyatta. The president has in the meantime directed the National Police Service, NPS, to advertise the position so that it's filled in good time. In the meantime, someone will be picked to work in an acting capacity. George Kinoti, during his tenure, made a number of arrests that Ruto's camp said was targeting its affiliates.
The resignation of the Director General of CID, Mr. Kinoti, and I have transmitted the same to the National Police Service to proceed with advertising that position. And meanwhile, they should get somebody to act in the place of Mr. Kinoti.
Away from that now, the Law Society of Kenya, LSK, has called on the Inspector General of Police to expedite investigations into the death of lawyer Paul Gicheru under mysterious circumstances. Kenyan lawyer Paul Gicheru, who was charged with alleged bribery of witnesses testifying at the International Criminal Court in the case against President William Ruto, was found dead at his current home on Monday. Gicheru caused a sensation in 2020 when he flew to Amsterdam to present himself to the International Criminal Court after years of refusing to stand trial and resisting the court's efforts to have him extradited to The Hague. Until his death, the 54-year-old lawyer had been waiting a verdict in the trial. Grace Ongoi has this report.
Lawyer John Haminoa, who is Paul Gicheru's lawyer, while speaking on behalf of the family, says Gicheru was in a stressful condition and was not himself days leading to his death. Haminoa dismissed claims that are going round on social media that Gicheru ate food that allegedly killed him.
The cause of death is not really known. It is still being investigated by the authorities. I have met some of the senior police officers who are investigating the death. I'm told that they were here yesterday and they are continuing to investigate the matter. So the best we can do at the moment is not to indulge ourselves in any kind of reckless allegations at all. Let us find out what the investigators will come up with. we shall have they may have to decide whether we should have a postmortem and bring in pathologists to look at the internal organs of his body. They may decide that probably it was natural death, but still under the law, when someone dies suddenly, the courts usually get involved to find out the cause of death. So it is the cause of death that is being investigated at the moment, and the investigation process has not ended at all. It will continue for quite some time.
The 54-year-old lawyer came to the limelight in November 2020 after evading an arrest warrant issued in March 2015 and refusing to stand trial. He presented himself to answer to accusations of bribing and interfering with witnesses testifying at the International Criminal Court, ICC, in the case against President William Ruto, who was implicated in the chaos that erupted after the 2007 general election. The Law Society of Kenya, LSK, is the latest party to call on authorities to speed up investigations on the sudden death of the lawyer. LSK, in a statement released hours after Gicheru's death, said there was need for answers about his untimely death, given that Gicheru was a suspect at the International Criminal Court, ICC, and several witnesses in ICC cases involving Kenyan leaders have either disappeared or died. On Monday evening, the Kenya Human Rights Commission, KHRC, also called on the DCI to conduct swift and conclusive investigations into the death of Paul Gicheru. Gicheru was awaiting the Chamber's pronouncement on its decision of whether he was convicted or acquitted. On July 15, 2021, the Chamber noted that Gicheru worked together with others to undermine the cases against William Ruto and journalist Joshua Sang, charges that he pleaded not guilty to.
They either misapprehend, however.
Grace Wangoi for TV Newswatch.
Now, 2 children have perished after their house was gutted by fire Tuesday afternoon in Tononoka area of Mombasa County. The deadly inferno gutted down government quarters, which is a 2-story building adjacent to the Coast General Teaching and Referral Hospital, where property worth thousands of shillings was destroyed. According to eyewitnesses, the fire could have been caused by cooking gas leakage. The residents have at the same time blamed the Mombasa Fire Brigade for failing to contain the inferno on time, leading to the deaths of 2 children.
Serikali yetu ya gatuzi la Mombasa wajitahidi zaidi, wakati kama kisa kama hiki cha moto kinatokea, waje kwa wakati unaofaa na zile magari ziwe ziko tayari, ama kile kitengo kiwe kimejipanga, kimejihami kwa lolote takalotokea, wawe wako tayari. Manake pia wamechukua muda wa kuconnect zile pipe, ingawaje wengine walikuwa wanavunja ile geti, lakini pia ni kama ambayo wengine walikuwa hawajazoea ile kuconnect zile pipe. Sasa ule moto usingekuwa mkubwa zaidi ya hapo.
Gesi unaweza kuwa umefunga lakini bado ikawa inavuja. Sasa watu wakiconnect magesi wawe makini sana. Yaani mtu achukue fundi wa gesi wa kuconnect kuliko kuchukua tu watu hivi. Unaona? Sababu inakuwa zile nipples ziko loose, gesi kaa inatoka taratibu. Ukifunga mlango, ukifunga madirisha, ikija ipata upepo kidogo kuna repuka huko ndani.
Hawa watu wa kuzima moto wamejitahidi, wamefika hapa mapema, lakini ile kazi wamefanya hakuna kitu hata cha maana cha kuonekana kimeonekana, kwa sababu wao wamekuja, wakifika hapo wameacha maji, pipe zenyewe zina tundu, maji yamwagika nje, wanapiga maji yanapiga kwa ukuta mpaka watu wamekufa ndani. Wamefika on time lakini hawana vifaa, oxygen yenyewe hawana. Mtu ankuja kuzima moto amvaa jezi, ankuja kucheza mpira hapa. Hii ni mtihani ampata mheshimiwa, aangalie utendakazi wa wazima moto Mombasa County. Miaka yote hawawezi zima moto. Hatuogopi kusema. Kuzima moto hawazimi. Hapa ingekuwa nikuja KPA ama Kenya Navy, huu moto ungekuwa uzimwa mapema sana.
Now, as the government works towards narrowing the gender gap, President William Ruto has appointed 7 women out of the 22 positions in his cabinet. 15 positions have been allocated to men. The 7 women include Florence Bore, who has been handed the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, Aisha Juma, who will be in charge of Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action Ministry, Alice Wahome for Water and Sanitation, Rebecca Miano for East Africa Community and Esol Development Docket, Rosalinda Soipan-Tuya, who will take charge of the environment and forestry docket, Penina Malonza, who will take over the tourism, wildlife and heritage ministry, and Susan Nakumencha Wafula, who will lead the health ministry. At the same time, the president has appointed 3 women in cabinet-level portfolios. They include Monica Juma, who will be National Security Advisor, Mercy Wanjau, Secretary to the Cabinet, and Harriet Chigai as Women Rights Agency Advisor. Right, with that, let's now take a short break on Newswatch. We'll be back shortly with more news making headlines across the country. Do stay with us.
Join John Cousin every weekday as he takes us on a journey through the Bible.
Whoever shall seek to save his life, if you go back to living for yourself, you're going to lose it. But whoever shall lose his life, give up his life for my sake, he shall preserve it.
Enjoy interesting, knowledge-packed, yet simple teachings through his humor and in-depth understanding of God's Word.
The last people that tried to put God in a box, literally, he rose again. He wouldn't stay in their compartment. If God was small enough for me to figure out, he wouldn't be big enough for me to worship.
Tune in to Hope TV for John Cousin every 10 p.m., 4 a.m., and 10 a.m. weekdays on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Welcome back to Newswatch. Let's continue with our broadcast. The health workers caucus in the country are demanding the government to increase budgetary allocation to health towards the realization of the 15% baseline envisioned by the Abuja Declaration of 2001. Speaking in Nairobi on the state of health sector in the country after 10 years of devolution, the healthcare workers stated that since the inception of devolution, health service delivery has been greatly compromised by the shortage of health workers and unavailability of essential supplies and equipment. As Kennedy Kimani now reports, the health workers want the Kenya Kwanza government to develop a strategy for annual recruitment of health workers as a matter of priority.
While giving their address on the state of healthcare in the country after 10 years of devolution, the Healthcare Workers Caucus are now demanding the government to increase the budgetary allocation to health and develop a strategy for annual recruitment of health workers.
In the next 40 days, and by that I mean by 5th of November, if we have any county that shall have not paid the workers, the healthcare workers, their salaries, and have not remitted central reduction, then we will not at that particular time sympathize with the government. But we will ask those workers not to be at work and to wait until all those statutory reductions are done.
Since the inception of devolution, the healthcare workers state that health service delivery has been greatly compromised by the shortage of healthcare workers and unavailability of essential supplies and equipment.
There has been acute shortage of health workers that has been occasioned by lack of employment and a structured policy which is actually orchestrated by inadequate financing and government goodwill.
The health workers also want the Kenya Kwanza government to consider the formation of a joint task force on health, development of a strategy for effective human resource for health management, immediate resumption of collective bargaining agreement negotiations, and embracing social dialogue as a matter of priority.
So we're asking for a paradigm shift in the way that we do things. It is embarrassing that to date we are still having some counties that are going on strike because people have not been paid on time. Some counties like Meru, people have not even been paid the salary for August, and we are heading to end of September. And that is something that runs across so many counties across the country.
With the new government in place, health workers want health to be given its due priority, as they say much more needs to be done if the country is to achieve the universal health care agenda. Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch, Nairobi.
Let's now move to the counties. Mombasa Governor Abdul Samad Nasir has announced a raft of changes aimed at streamlining revenue collection in the county. In a press briefing at his office, Nasir said all inspectorate officers deployed at cess collection points, markets and parking units will be redeployed to carry out traffic and security enhancement duties. According to the governor, the changes were part of the rapid response initiative he announced will take place in the first 100 days in office. He also announced that beginning next week, the Kongowea market will adopt a 24-hour operating system.
We had given an indication that we want to turn Mombasa into a 24-hour economy. We cannot expect private businesses to start doing that until we take charge and show by example. So I've directed that commencing Monday next week, Kongowea market will start operating on a 24-hour basis. The lighting of Kongowea market is currently at about 70%. We're expecting that by the end of the week we would have finalized. We're immediately embarking on enhancing the CCTVs. Equally, there is a gazetted police station inside Kongowea market. So we are writing to the Department of Police to be able to ensure that we have the police forces inside there. We're going to be increasing the number of inspectorate officers for purposes of manning traffic and also for purposes of general security matters. I have written to the Public Service Commission, who have the capacity and they have the manpower without necessarily denting the resources of the county government. And we have requested them to do a public human resource audit of the county government of Mombasa. And this human resource audit will touch on many things, including placement, including who and who should be having their promotions and when they need to be getting those particular promotions from the date at which they were hired, including as well that a possibility of reshuffling some of the current employees who are there.
Moving on, Concerned Citizen, a human rights lobby group, has raised concern over alleged grabbing of a road reserve around the Mombasa's railways roundabout. The group's director, Bradley Ouna, led a section of locals to protest the alleged grabbing. Ouna called on various government agencies, including the County Government of Mombasa, the National Lands Commission, and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate how the section of the road reserve was allocated to a private company.
So what we want to kindly tell the guys who are here, one thing.
Hapa nyuma hivi unaona kuna huyu mwenye Simba Cement, sijui mwenye Mombasa Cement ako hapa, amegrab land ya public, akaweka ukuta, akaweka ua. Hapo nyuma kwenye biashara wengine wameweza kufungiwa, wamefunga biashara kwa sababu ameweka ua mbele ya ukuta, mbele ya biashara za wengine. Na hapo na kiburi sana, hataki kusikiza wafanya biashara wengine wamefunga biashara zao, watu wamekosa unga, malishe kwa sababu yake. Anatumia ujanja kuwa is a philanthropist. Kumbe tunajua mambo yake ni kuiba land ya public.
Huyu jamaa Mombasa Cement ametufungia kabisa mrango, alikuja akaweka prox na akasema nenda popote mnaenda. Tunaomba, yeye hana hata title T. Kwa nini anachenga pale land reserves na hana hata kibali chochote kutoka kwa county? Sasa tunaomba gavana mpya, tafadhali tunakuomba wewe Abdul Nasiri uangalie hii jambo na ujue ni kwa nini sisi tutakuwa vipi, tutaingia vipi kwetu kwa plot yetu na ametufungia.
Hiyo mahali ni General Tires, ambapo mwenye hiyo General Tires amefariki. Kabla kufariki
alimkabidhi mtu wa Mombasa Cement kuwa anaweza fanyia miradi ya donation pale. Yeah. Hata ukienda kuangalia makaratasi na documents ambazo zinalingana na hiyo plot ama kiwanja, mtaona mwenye hiyo plot ni General Tyres, ambapo alipatia Mombasa Cement kuendeleza zile nini za donation food program. Ndio maana umeona pale tumefanya hayo miradi, lakini wakati wa COVID tukafunga, ndio hatujafungua mpaka leo. Na vile pia watu waliongezeka na ile nafasi ni ndogo, ndio tukawa tunafanya kibarani.
And to Embu County now, there was drama in different tea factories in Embu when former directors stormed the factories and took leadership, saying they were bona fide directors. The current board of directors were caught by surprise after they had arrived at the factory premises and found new people seated in their offices. Mwanje Njeru, who is the chairman of Mungania Tea Factory, said he found the former directors seated in the factory boardroom where they claimed to be the valid directors. In Rukiriri Tea Factory, things were not different, and the current directors were held hostage outside the offices after former directors entered the factory premises and convened in the boardroom for a meeting.
So what we want to kindly tell the guys who are here, one thing, it's illegal to just come and get to the boardroom. This is a private property. If they have any issue, whatever nature of the issue they have, let them follow the right procedure. We are currently the bona fide directors, elected directors by the farmers of Mungania Tea Factory, 10,000 of them. So you cannot come out there and, from nowhere, then you just come and claim that, I'm now the director, I'm now the chairman. It has never worked, because we are law-abiding people, and we pray that such a thing won't happen again.
My appeal, even to the president, is tea sector is very sensitive. A little disturbance, it affects our prices. And in our factory like Rokoriri, we also want to say that last year or this year when we paid the bonus, the economic impact on the tribe or the community around is so much that we cannot allow people to just walk in a factory and claim to be directors. So we are appealing to the president and the deputy that let the law be followed as they have followed, so we don't expect any favors into breaking the law. Our lawyers in national office, our national board is handling this situation, and I can confirm by tomorrow more instructions will be sent to our factory managers, because this thing actually they did it at once and countrywide. That is what we are referring to. They stormed the factories illegally.
And in Siaya County, 2 philanthropic organizations will team up to train student leadership in schools so as to improve discipline and education standards. TG and Bishop Asonga Foundations will partner with the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association, KESHA, in Siaya County to help the youth in schools to overcome mental health challenges and stress that have occasionally been blamed for student unrests and other indiscipline cases. Addressing the media on the sidelines of a meeting with the school heads and KESHA officials from Gem and Alego Usonga constituencies, retired head of the Anglican Diocese of Maseno West, Joseph Otieno Wasonga, said many young people were faced with various challenges that impact on their mental health, hence the need for intervention.
We are telling KESHA that any child from Game whom they feel is needy shouldn't be sent home. So they'll share that with the staff of the foundation. We have open branches. We have a branch in every ward.
There are a number of challenges for young people touching on their mental health, and a lot of stress for students. So we are partnering with Agape Counseling and Training Services to be able to provide psychosocial support for students, to train peer counselors in schools, and also train prefects and school leaders so that they are able to reach their fellows and tackle their problems before they grow to be a big issue. And so we will have a program for training and equipping students with peer counseling skills. We are also available to do one-on-one counseling, not only with students, but also with parents, because mental health is not an isolated issue.
Let's now look at what is happening internationally. In Nigeria, floods have continued to ravage farmlands, destroy crops, and force tens of thousands of people to abandon their homes. At least 300 people have died so far this year, and it's believed that some 100,000 people have been displaced and are now living in temporary shelters. The flooding has affected an estimated 500,000 people and destroyed infrastructure and farmland in 27 of Nigeria's 36 states and the capital city. Flooding in Nigeria has affected farming, raising food security issues, while farmers are saying they have little choice but to face the challenges ahead. They are appealing to the authorities to help them deal with the dire situation. And Japan has bid farewell to assassinated former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe with a rare state funeral that reportedly divided the nation. Some 4,000 mourners, including Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Japan's Crown Prince Akishiro, and United States Vice President Kamala Harris attended Tuesday's ceremony for Abe, who was gunned down on July 8th while delivering a campaign speech in the western city of Nara. The event began with the Japan Self-Defense Forces firing 19 shots in honor of Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister as his wife Akie Abe carried his ashes into Tokyo's Nippon Budokan Hall.
Is a space for talented youth between the ages of 18 and 24 years. Can you sing? Can you dance? Wheelchair for a mic or any other performances? The RAF is a chance to showcase your talent in music, dance, poetry, acrobatics, and more, and stand a chance to win 500,000 Kenyan shillings, a recording deal at Hope Studios, and many more prizes. The RAF auditions in Nyeri will be on Thursday, 29th of September 2022. To register, send an SMS starting with #TheRAF with your name, county, and talent to 22232 to get an invite to the auditions happening near you. For more information, please call 0709 861 223. The RAF, identifying talent, inspiring passion.
Welcome back. Let's look at some business news. The Kenya Power has announced plans to phase out fossil fuel-powered vehicles and motorbikes from its fleet in favor of electric-powered ones as the company moves to adopt sustainable ways of doing business. The company has so far set aside 40 million shillings in the current financial year to purchase 3 electric vehicles on a pilot basis. The funds will also be utilized to construct 3 electric vehicle charging stations within Nairobi, both for the company's use and demonstration purposes. The e-mobility industry is taking shape within the country with more than 1,000 electric vehicles currently on the roads. Being a key player in the electricity value chain, Kenya Power intends to play an active role in driving the uptake of electric vehicles.
If we want both prosperity and a healthy planet, we cannot continue to do business as usual. We cannot fill the housing gap with concrete and steel, and we cannot meet transport needs with petrol and diesel. But shifting development tracks and making the green transition happen requires new solutions and new ways of working. Some of these solutions are already here, while others might not yet be discovered and may even be unimaginable today. To find them, we must vision, create, and work together. It is only if we succeed in doing so, we may pioneer the possible.
As a responsible business, Kenya Power is actively promoting adoption of clean energy. To this end, in addition to our energy mix, which currently stands at 92% renewable and only about 8% thermal, we are stimulating the uptake of clean cooking and e-mobility as well. Currently in the country, we approximate about 1,000 electric vehicles on our roads. The installed capacity in our country for electricity generation stands at 3,077 megawatts. During the OPIC, only 1,100 megawatts is utilized. This means that Kenya has enough power to support the entire e-mobility ecosystem.
And Equity Bank Kenya has been recognized by the Kenya Bankers Association, KBA, at the 2021 SFI Catalyst Awards for its efforts in championing sustainable finance initiatives in support of the region's economic recovery and resilience. The bank, whose business model is hinged on its social and economic engines, clinched top positions in the Best Bank in COVID-19 Response and Best Bank in SME Financing Award categories and fast runners-up in the Best Overall Bank after bagging 7 awards out of the possible 8 categories.
We have won in the SME Finance category and the Best COVID-19 Response out of the pandemic that started in March 2020 when it hit our shores, and the interventions we did for our customers and our customers' business. Our business does not exist in isolation of what happens in the environment. So when COVID hit, SMEs were affected in different ways, and the bank came up with strategies on how to ensure that those businesses survive the COVID pandemic. We granted pandemic moratoriums depending on the sectors that each of those SMEs were involved in, the business, and how they were affected. We had a podium finish, either at number 3 or number 2 or number 1 in 7 out of the 8 categories that were up for grabs today.
Our journey to these awards began in 2015 when the member bank CEOs of the KBA collectively made a commitment to adopt the Sustainable Finance Initiative guiding principles in their day-to-day operations and lending decisions. Indeed, for us, this has become a hallmark event at in our KBS calendar, since it accords us this unique opportunity to honor the banks that have certainly put the economy, society, and the environment at the center of the operations.
And the first award is for Best in Financing SMEs. And in first place, Equity Bank Kenya.
And to some sports news now, World Marathon record holder Bridget Kosgei will not participate in this Sunday's London Marathon due to a persistent hamstring injury, which she says has greatly hampered her training, leaving her unprepared for a third title in London. Kosgei has announced that she will be seeking treatment ahead of an anticipated return to action next year, with her withdrawal from the race now leaving Jeff Kosgei as well as Mary Ngugi and John Chelimo as Kenya's representatives in this World Marathon Majors event as far as the women's race is concerned. And England fought back from 2-0 down to salvage a 3-3 draw against Germany on Monday in the UEFA Nations League at Wembley Stadium. The Three Lions had already been relegated from the top tier of the Nations League and will head to Qatar on a 6-game winless run. Despite the disappointment of a late equalizer, there was relief for Gareth Southgate that England's attack finally came to life after accusations that his conservative tactics were to blame for a lack of goals. Right, that marks the end of this broadcast tonight. Many thanks for staying with us this far. Till next time, God bless. I'm Tony Omondi, and our sign language interpreter has been Elizabeth Wanjiru. Good night.